March 1922. A heavy set of footprints crunches out from the dark, freezing Bavarian tree line, pressing deliberately into the pristine snow toward an isolated farm. But as the farmer traces that winding path, his blood runs cold. Because the footprints lead straight to his house, but none of them lead back.
This is the Hinterkaifeck farmstead, a place practically swallowed whole by thick, suffocating timber. It's reachable only by this one narrow dirt path, so the isolation here, it's absolute. Now the owner, Andreas Gruber, he knows every single shadow on his land. He knows the wind, the wildlife, the way the timber groans at night. So, standing there, staring at that snow, a terrifying certainty sets in. Something or someone has crossed his property line. And worse, they're still here.
And this silent watcher, they're actually starting to breach the walls. Andreas corners his neighbors in town, and his voice is just tight with panic. He tells them about these heavy, deliberate footsteps, someone pacing across the wooden floorboards of his attic in the dead of night. Slow, methodical, literally echoing right above their heads while they're trying to sleep. He even holds up this unfamiliar newspaper he found dropped in the courtyard, printed in some distant town that no one in the house bought. The unseen presence isn't just watching them from the tree line anymore, it's living in the house with them.
You can just imagine the suffocating paranoia. The whole family walking through their daily chores, constantly looking over their shoulders, jumping at every shadow. Then, on March 31st, the watcher's patience finally snaps. That creeping dread erupts into sudden, absolute violence, leaving behind a scene so shockingly cold and calculated, it honestly defies human comprehension.
The weapon of choice is a mattock. Now, if you don't know what that is, it's this heavy iron farming tool meant for carving up frozen earth and stubborn roots. And it's swung with this devastating, quiet precision. Listen, this is no chaotic frenzy. The killer moves with cold, methodical purpose, sweeping room by room, shadow by shadow. There's no frantic rush here. It's just systematic elimination.
6 lives are meticulously extinguished in the dark. You have Andreas and his wife, Katsilia. Their widowed daughter, Victoria. Victoria's 2 young children, 7-year-old Kazilia and 2-year-old Josef. And then in a corner room, Maria Baumgartner. She was the new maid. And the heartbreaking reality is, she was murdered while literally unlacing her shoes and unpacking her bags. She had arrived at this remote farm just mere hours earlier. It was her very first day.
But here's where the true horror of Hinterkaifeck really begins. It doesn't end with the swing of the iron. It's the aftermath. Days pass by. The farm sits eerily quiet under this gray winter sky, and yet, the animals aren't starving. The cows are being milked. The cattle are being fed. So, if the entire family is dead, who on earth is feeding the cattle? The killer didn't run. They stayed. On April 1st, fresh feed is thrown to the livestock out in the barn. By April 2nd, thick gray smoke is casually drifting from the kitchen chimney up into the freezing sky. This phantom simply moved right in. They lived in the bloodstained home, seamlessly slipping into the daily agricultural routines of the very lives they had just violently ended.
I mean, think about the absolute psychological detachment here. It's chilling. On one side of the property, inside the dim, freezing barn, broken bodies are dragged into a corner and concealed beneath heavy layers of hay. And just steps away, separated by a thin wooden wall, the murderer strikes a match. They light the kitchen stove. They literally sit at the family table, eating the family's food. It's this quiet, domestic routine playing out directly on top of a mass grave.
It actually takes 4 full days for this twisted illusion of normalcy to crack. The young girl, Kazilia, misses a few days of school. Uncollected mail starts piling up. And finally, suspicion drives wary neighbors up that winding dirt path to check in. They cross the empty courtyard. Dead silence. They pull open the heavy, creaking wooden doors of the barn, and they pull back the straw. Total panic sweeps the countryside. But by the time Munich detectives actually arrive on the scene, the truth is already gone. Dozens of panicked locals have trampled through the snow, pushed their way through the house, and crowded into the barn. The killer's footprints, the exact path of entry, any trace evidence, completely erased, crushed beneath the boots of horrified onlookers before it could even be documented. Stripped of any physical clues, detectives are thrown into this labyrinth of rural whispers. You know how it is in deeply isolated communities. Secrets are practically currency, and Hinterkaifeck had plenty of them. Behind closed doors, dark motives are dragged out into the light, pointing toward these volatile, intensely personal vendettas.
I mean, who would have the motive to slaughter an entire family?
The first shadow belongs to a ghost, Carl Gabriel. He was Victoria's husband, officially presumed dead in the muddy trenches of World War I. But local taverns whispered a different story, that he had actually deserted and survived in secret. So imagine this vengeful soldier peering through the freezing glass of the farmhouse, only to find his wife raising a new 2-year-old child, a child that could not possibly be his.
But the parentage of that young child unlocks a much, much darker local rumor. A really twisted dynamic involving Andreas Gruber himself. Whispers suggested he had actually fathered his own daughter's youngest child. If this devastating, highly taboo family secret had finally boiled over, well, the resulting fury provides a motive rooted in the deepest, darkest shame of rural Bavaria.
Yet all the practical clues left before the massacre point somewhere entirely different. The creaking floorboards above the bedrooms, the discarded out-of-town newspaper, the single set of footprints in the snow. This doesn't look like a crime of sudden explosive passion. It looks like a patient, calculating phantom who lived in the freezing dark of the attic, just listening through the ceiling, learning their routines, waiting for the absolute perfect, isolated moment to strike. Decades turn to dust. The original detectives pass away, but the dread in that town never really leaves. Then fast forward to 2007, and there's a sudden spark of hope. The Munich Police Academy reopens the files. They are armed with modern technology the original investigators couldn't have even dreamed of, hoping that maybe, just maybe, the microscopic world might finally break a century of silence.
The effort is incredibly methodical and, honestly, a bit desperate. They extract trace DNA from preserved skulls and archived evidence. They draw blood from living descendants of those long-suspected men, comparing it all against the ghosts of 1922. But time has just buried the truth too deep. There's no conclusive match. The files are slammed shut.
Today, the farmstead is completely gone. The earth has been plowed over. Only a lone stone monument remains in the quiet woods, marking Germany's coldest unsolved mystery. More than a century has passed, and time has completely erased the identity of the shadow in the attic.
The suspects are dead. The physical evidence is gone. But you know, the true terror of Hinterkaifeck isn't just about who swung the iron. It's the unnatural self-control of what followed. What kind of person possesses the terrifying detachment to slaughter an entire family and then simply stay? To strike a match, cook a warm meal, and sit quietly listening to the wind outside, perfectly at peace while 6 bodies lay hidden just steps away.